Welcome back to another reading of Bet On You. Written by Laban Ditchburn. Performed by Laban Ditchburn. Reread by Laban Ditchburn. And this time around with some rock music accompanying the live read. This is Chapter 5. We're getting to a really intriguing part of the book. This is called Generosity. And it's very timely because it takes place on Friday, June 27th, 1986, which is my 6th birthday, and recording this Friday, June 24th. This was a complete coincidence. Friday, June 27th, 1986 was my 6th birthday and the last day of the school week. The last period of the day was sport, and we often played a game called Scrag. The only description of Scrag that I can make would be a full-body contact game that combines rugby without a ball and prison riding without a knife. It has also, I might add, been banned across schoolyards due to excessive broken bones and bruised organs, but mainly due to an overwhelming groundswell of snowflake helicopter parents. I made it through that battle unscathed on that particular day, maybe because all the other kids knew it was my special day and wanted to keep me pretty for my celebratory birthday photograph. They need not have worried. There would be no paparazzi shoot happening that night. Mum had made the God-inspired decision to send her 2 sons to a privately run Christian school on a social welfare allowance, and money was tighter than a duck's butt. By quick estimate, the actual dollar amount Mum received from the government was probably close to the amount of their school fees. But I got to give her credit. She somehow managed 2 years of high-quality education on the smell of an oily rag, though that rag was constantly running out of fumes. I was a passenger in her Ford Cortina station wagon on more occasions than I care to remember, being asked to pray to God so that we would have enough gas to make it home. Sometimes he answered, more often he didn't. It's only in the last few years that I've even allowed my own gas tank to get anywhere near halfway, an enduring legacy of trudging my way to the gas station to borrow a jerry can and a few bucks worth of juice to get us home. Character building stuff, I can assure you. Most kids at my school had parents that bought them McDonald's at lunchtime, fish and chips on Friday, and gave them Cocoa Pops for breakfast. Those bastards. I'm grateful for not eating that garbage now, but I wasn't then. I was fed a monotonous schedule of Vegemite sandwiches, occasional fruit, and on rare occasions a chocolate chip muesli bar or 2. God, they were good. But if you combine the energy I expended from simply growing, plus the energy demands from the exercise I was doing, the calories I was allocated were simply not enough. Riding my bike to school alone burned so much fuel. Oh, that's cute. You rode your bike to school? Well, if by road you mean competed in an unofficial Tour de France, then yes. I've researched the exact distance using mapping software, and my still to this day defined calf muscles proudly display the efforts of riding 18 kilometres a day, and that's a little over 11 miles for those of you holding out on the proper measurement scale. Yes, that's 9 kilometres over 5.5 miles each way at 5 years old. Surely that's equivalent to an Ironman triathlon, or at least the cycle bit. 5 years of age, trailing behind my 13-year-old brother, navigating the perpendicular streets of Christchurch with my orange stack hat on. Sure, I was chaperoned by my brother, but my little legs were still doing all the pumping, and if you tried to get your child to do the same in this day and age, you'd be jailed immediately and left there to rot. I'd often arrive home from school famished, and there wouldn't be a lot to eat despite Mum's grand efforts. Many times the only sustenance would be foil-wrapped stock cubes which, when mixed with hot water, congealed into an Oliver Twist gruel-like substance. If you're unsure about what I'm talking about, here's the ingredients list. Wheat flour with added calcium, iron, niacin and thiamine, salt, dry glucose syrup, monosodium glutamate, chicken fat, potato starch, sugar, concentrated chicken extract, and ammonia caramel to give it that real natural look. I wouldn't feed that chemical warfare to my worst enemy these days. However, back then, with my North Korean levels of starvation, it tasted just like nectar of the gods. Back to our game, it had just finished, and I was standing in an orderly queue of young men who were waiting on one of the teachers to retie our school ties. It was a proper tie. Not one of those handy ties with the elastic band that you could snap on in only a few short seconds. But I ask you, how many 5-year-olds do you know that can form a Windsor knot? Not many. My uniform was an oversized green blazer, purchased 3 sizes too big so I could grow into it. It consumed my charcoal black shorts, also too big, and covered up the standard white button shirt with long sleeves. And every Friday we'd stand in that line and allow an exceptionally talented teacher to whip that unnecessary fashion accessory into a work of art. That week it was Miss Amanda Neal, a substitute teacher filling in for our usual teacher, Mrs. Bucknell, who was gallivanting across Europe. Mrs. Neal kept our class up to date with Mrs. Bucknell's travels by placing pins with string on them on a world map to show the latest destination at which the teacher had arrived. Pretty much the next best thing to Google Maps back then. And whilst Mrs. Bucknell was away, we were asked to write and send postcards throughout her trip. One of mine read, "I hope it's not too slippery in Greece." I was basically a comedic genius at 6 years of age, but never formally recognised. "What are you doing this weekend?" Mrs. Neal asked the boy at the front of the queue. "We're going skiing at Mount Hutt," the lad replied excitedly. "Wow, that's great. You be sure to look after yourself up there," Mrs. Neal affectionately replied. The skier disappeared and the teacher asked the same question to the kid in front of me. He responded with something equally exciting. His tie was done and off he went. I approached Mrs. Neal with a slight apprehension as I knew the question was coming and I didn't feel like answering it truthfully. I had always been an outwardly happy child despite the obvious challenges, but it was hard to brave face it on such a momentous occasion. The question came quicker than I expected and caught me off guard. "What are you doing this weekend, Laban?" she asked softly. "It's my birthday," I blurted out, never one to hide the great moments in life. "Happy birthday, Laban. What a wonderful day it is. What are you doing to celebrate?" There it was. She got me. I had no option but to spill the beans. I stammered. "Nothing, miss. Mum said we don't have any money at the moment, but she'll make it up to me as soon as she can," I bravely smiled. Mrs. Neal's warm disposition morphed into a "I've just witnessed a small puppy get run over by a car" look. It was quite remarkable to watch. "Oh," she replied, clearly not expecting that response. She composed herself and in a soft quivery voice said, "I'm sorry to hear that, Laban. I'm sure your birthday will still be fantastic." I could see a rogue tear leave her left eye and run partway down her cheek before she captured it under the guise of a pretend swatting of a bug to the face. She finished sorting my tie in silence and then sent me on my way. The school bell rang and we all started dispersing out to take our respective routes home. I took my orange stack hat and made my way to the bike sheds. As I grabbed my miniature BMX by the handlebars, Mrs. Neal appeared. She had many more tears in her eyes and from nowhere thrust a plain envelope into my palm. She issued me stern instructions like that of a World War II lieutenant ordering a platoon of troops to make a pivotal strike that will change the outcome of the war. "Laban, do not open this. Take this straight home and give it to your mother." When you're that young, you do what you're told. So I did. Setting a new land speed record getting home, I flew up the driveway and nearly bowled over Rusty, the family King Charles Cocker Spaniel. Dumping my bike on the front porch, I ran into the house and passed the contraband to Mum. "What's this?" she asked. I repeated Mrs. Neal's instructions as Mum slowly opened the envelope. I tried to speed up the process by telekinesis, thinking, "Hurry up!" in the same way that we do when waiting for really slow people on an escalator. I heard a sharp gasp from my mother's mouth, followed by a loud, high-pitched, "Oh my God, it's a miracle!" Mum revealed the contents in the same way Rafiki the shaman baboon reveals Simba the Lion King to the world. Miss Amanda Neal had enclosed $30 beautiful into that envelope, 10% of a relief teacher's net weekly wages in those days. Hakuna Matata. It meant no worries for the rest of that day at least. And unbeknownst to Mrs. Neal at the time, she single-handedly changed the course of my life in the process. This single act of generosity not only funded one of the greatest impromptu birthday parties on record, but more importantly, allowed an impressionable young man to witness firsthand a truly selfless act of generosity. It has stayed with me to this day and has influenced many of my own acts of giving. Despite the vivid memory of the event, no one could actually recall the teacher's name. After word got out that this book was being written, a manhunt was launched at Middleton Grange School in Christchurch, New Zealand, and Mrs. Amanda Neal was eventually tracked down and contact made, 34 long years in the making. When I reshared this story with Amanda, her response was truly humbling. Being acknowledged so long after the event was almost too much for her to handle, but handle it she did. And the joy that I experienced reliving that moment with her was worth the effort of writing the book alone. In return, I now receive tailored digital e-cards from Amanda every Christmas, birthday and Easter. We have spent many hours on the phone talking together about all manner of life's interesting twists and turns. For example, she left a career in teaching to become a priest, dedicating her life once again to service. Laban's random lessons. Giving can almost seem selfish at times, as the response from the universe seems to magnify our generosity back in ways far greater than I yet fully understand. It's good to try the theory out for yourself on a regular basis. Practice at least one daily act of giving to anybody you choose. The teenage worker at the supermarket, the person at the car wash, the postie, or the IT support guy located thousands of miles away. Do this with zero expectation of anything in return and repeat the process as often as possible. It can be as simple as a smile or authentic interest in someone's day. For example, when someone says hello and asks you how you are, respond with, "Do you know what? I am truly blessed." 99 times out of 100, it'll start a conversation that'll change your whole day for the better and theirs. And receiving an honest compliment might be the only positive experience in someone's entire day. And it just might have a positive impact on your own life in ways you never imagined. In the words of Zig Ziglar, you can have everything in life you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want. Thank you again for being on this live reading journey with me. I really loved writing that chapter and the whole experience of connecting with Amanda, and she's still alive and she still sends me the digital e-cards, and she shared with me she adopted two young Pacific Island children who were really young but had been horribly abused when they were growing up. And as far as I know, the kids are still struggling and with drugs and alcohol and gambling, and this ties into really why I wrote the book. I wanted something that, had I had access to it 10 years before I hit my own rock bottom, that might have sort of steered me onto the path a bit earlier. It is what it is, and everything sort of had to go the path that it did, but it really makes you think. And gratitude is such a hell of a drug. It's so easy to get away. And if you're ever struggling, you can't have a negative thought and a positive thought simultaneously. And as challenging as life can be, no matter how bad things seem to be, being grateful for whatever it is that you've got in that moment can be a lifesaver for many people. So I'm really enjoying reading these chapters, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna continue to do once the book is finished. But if there's any ideas that you might have that you want to put in the comments, I'd love to hear your thoughts and any feedback or anything else that you feel like contributing. And sometimes it's brave to make a comment about something that you feel is valuable that people might benefit from. And the answer will always be no if you never ask the question. So if you're not having a great day, I would encourage you to do so. And if you are, well, keep up the good work, would you?